Bright Beetle by Chrustowski. Bright Beetle by Chrustowski. For Ted, my brightest and dearest friend. At the end of summer, when the grass turns golden, the meadow hums with buzzing insects. A shiny ladybug zips past a bumblebee and catches hold of the stem of a black-eyed Susan. The ladybug climbs into the cool shadow under the flower petals and lays 9 yellow eggs. Then she lifts her wings and flies away, leaving her young behind to care for themselves. For several days, the eggs are safely hidden. Then one morning, they turn white. It's time for them to hatch. One by one, tiny ladybug larvae break through the eggshells. Immediately hungry, they scurry off in all directions, looking for food. But one egg remains unhatched. Finally, it wiggles. Then it jerks. The end splits open, and out squirms the last little larva. With all her strength, she pulls her body free. Instinctively, she nibbles an aphid near her eggshell. Just one isn't enough for this appetite, though. By dawn, the larva has eaten 15 of the little green pests. Her skin feels tight. She has already outgrown it. She attaches her hind end to the bottom of a leaf and hangs down. The old skin splits along her back, and the larva, wearing a larger and more colorful skin that had been growing underneath, wriggles out. Eventually, her head and legs become glossy black in the sunlight. The larva is now a fierce purple and orange predator. She hunts for aphids and gobbles them up one after another. Over the next several days, she sheds her skin 2 more times. One morning, she discovers a cluster of aphids massed together at the base of a leaf. She crawls into the middle of the aphids and begins to feast. Unfortunately, there is time to eat only a few. Do you predict who's coming? Without warning, sharp jaws pinch her side. Then they bite her leg. The larva tucks her head under her body and thrusts the sharp bristles covering her back into the air. Like a pack of wolves, ants attack her from all sides. It is their job to protect the aphids from danger. They like to eat the sweet honeydew that aphids expel while feeding on plant juices. The ants quickly chase the larva up the flower stem, nipping at her the whole way. Then they rush back down to stand guard over their aphid herd. Luckily, the larva is not hurt. Her bristles are a strong shield against ant attacks. When she reaches the top, the larva finds a smaller group of unguarded aphids. She devours as many as her stomach can hold. The next afternoon, the larva climbs onto a flower petal. As she sheds her skin one final time, it pushes down into folds. The larva now looks completely different. She's covered by a hard orange pupa with bumps on and black spots. Inside this pupa, the larva transforms. She develops wings on her back. One pair will be the strong shell that covers her second, more delicate pair of flying wings underneath. Her entire body is outfitted in tough insect armor. After 5 days, she's ready to leave the pupa. She leans way back, then forward and back again. The walls loosen all around. With one final push, the pupa breaks open. Shining in the sunlight, a splendid little beetle crawls out into the world. At first, her shell is pale and soft. The fresh air begins to harden it. The ladybug climbs down the flower stem onto a leaf and spreads her crumpled wings to dry them. Over a couple of hours, her shell becomes bright and fiery red. It sends out a message to her enemies: "Don't eat me or you'll be sorry." Nearby, a praying mantis watches with powerful green eyes. He's not worried by bright colors or flashy warnings, at least not when dinner is within reach. He readies his claws and waits patiently. When the ladybug's wings are as stiff as paper, she's ready to fly. She flaps them, whir, whir, whir. She pushes hard against the air. Her body feels lighter as it lifts into the sky. For the first time in the ladybug's life, her tiny feet leave the flower where she was born. Flying is such a wonderful new experience. She doesn't notice the praying mantis moving closer. He blends into the tall grass so well. Dun, dun, dun. Just then, like a flash of lightning, the praying mantis reaches out and snatches the ladybug from the air. He brings her up to his mouth, but before he can take a bite, the ladybug has time for one defense. A bitter orange fluid oozes out of her legs. The praying mantis gets a drop of it in his mouth and is so shocked by the awful taste, that he drops his prey immediately. The ladybug falls to the leaf. She lands on her back and holds her body very still. If she doesn't move a muscle, the praying mantis might think she's dead. But he is hungry and determined. He readies his claws to reach for her again. Suddenly, a dragonfly flutters in front of him. The praying mantis swivels his head to watch it. He cannot resist the flapping wings. The ladybug watches as her attacker turns and follows his new victim into the tall grass. Maybe the next time he meets a beetle with the bright red shell, he will remember the terrible taste and think twice about eating it. Sure that the praying mantis is gone, the ladybug flips onto her feet and crawls to the edge of the leaf. Her strong shell saved her from any real injury. Cautiously, she looks around, raises her wings, and flies off the flower. Later that night, frost settles on the meadow. Many insects, including aphids, do not survive the cold. The ladybug is affected too. The cold makes it difficult for her to move her muscles. She warms them the next morning by sitting in the sun. Her flight is clumsy at first, but in time it becomes more controlled. She passes a butterfly sipping nectar deep inside a flower. She sees a grasshopper chewing on a blade of grass, but there are no aphids for the ladybug. She knows it's time to say goodbye to summer and find a sheltered place to hide for the winter. She's getting ready to hibernate. An old rotting branch at the foot of a birch tree looks inviting. The ladybug climbs through a hole in the bark and down into the comforting darkness of the decaying wood. A small group of ladybugs is already there. She joins the others, and huddled together, they sleep. All winter long, harsh winds whip across a thick blanket of snow. Deep inside the log, the ladybug rests quietly and waits for spring to come. When the warm sun melts the snow, the ladybug will lay her eggs on an aphid-covered plant, and a new generation of beetles will brighten the meadow, and the cycle of life begins again. Let's look at ladybugs. Ladybugs are easy to find. Look for a flower loaded with aphids, and chances are you will see a shiny red shell with polka dots. It's a ladybug. How many spots does it have? What color is its shell? There are around 350 different types of ladybugs in the United States. Some have black shells with red spots or yellow shells with black spots, and some have no spots at all. If you find a ladybug, be gentle with it. Let it walk on your hand. It will probably climb to the highest spot, lift its wings, and fly away. Maybe it's a female searching for a place to lay her eggs. A mother ladybug will always lay her eggs on plants with lots of aphids. She wants her babies to have plenty of food when they hatch. Ladybug larvae spend almost all their time eating. A hungry larva can eat 50 to 100 aphids in one day. When the larva is fully grown, it becomes a pupa. One end of the pupa is attached to a leaf. The pupa might seem defenseless, but it can pivot or jerk up and down. This startles many of its enemies, and they leave it alone. After the ladybug exits the pupa, it has another defense. When it is attacked, a bitter orange liquid automatically bleeds from its legs. This liquid tells predators that ladybugs taste awful. Ladybugs born during the summer live only a couple of weeks. Once they mate and lay eggs, their job in life is complete. Shortly after that, they die. But ladybugs born at the end of summer, like the one in this story, spend the whole winter in hibernation. Some sleep under leaves or bark, and some hibernate in our houses. Have you ever found a ladybug on your window pane in the middle of winter? The warmth of your house probably fooled it into thinking spring had come early. When spring does arrive, the adult ladybugs emerge from their hiding places. Soon after mating, the male dies. The female lives just long enough to lay her eggs and begin a new generation.